Following the end of World War I in November 1918, the Japanese government began considering the possibility of authorizing a number of projects for the development and creation of biological weapons to be used in future warlike conflicts, based on previous studies conducted in Europe. The highest authorities of the Japanese government eventually approved these projects, and Dr. He established a research group of 40 leading scientists under the leadership of Ito and the supervision of Commander Terunobu Hasebe. For this purpose, a research center was established south of the city of Harbin in the Manchuria region of China, which had been occupied by the Imperial Japanese Army since February 1932. At the end of the same year, the center began its initial research under the supervision of the Kamo Togo Unit, a division of the Imperial Japanese Army dedicated to the development of different biological weapons. Although, according to official guidelines, the aim of the research carried out in Harbin was to prevent epidemics and ensure the regular supply of drinking water to the Kwantung Army, their projects went much further. The person responsible for directing operations was Medical Lieutenant General Shiro Ishii. In addition to the unconditional support of Minister Araki, Ishii also gained the trust of Chikakiko Koizumi, rector of Tokyo Military Medical College, who without reservation approved a biological assay program to be developed by the immunology department created by Ishii himself in the last years of the 1930s. The tasks of this department included the prevention of diseases among Japanese troops, but the most important was the study and creation of epidemic spread systems. Initial experiments on animals were promising, but Ishii sought permission from his superiors to confirm its effectiveness in humans. The request was denied due to ethical conflicts and the express prohibition of conducting any medical research with humans on Japanese soil. The Japanese invasion of Manchuria in late 1931 was used by Ishii to meet his own wishes, largely because it was an environment more conducive to medical experimentation on humans. In this case, this experiment would be carried out in China, on the region and the prisoners of war of that nationality, but they were not the only ones. The first experiments on humans were carried out in a large building located in Bayini, which was destroyed by the Imperial Army, and its inhabitants were deported to different concentration camps in Manchuria. Known as Zhongma Fortress, it contained a prison camp surrounded by moats and drawbridges, as well as large 3-meter-high earthen walls covered with electrified barbed wire around each of the buildings that made up the complex. It contained small laboratories, offices, barracks, dining rooms, warehouses, gunpowder depots, crematoriums, and cells. To build the castle, the Imperial Army employed Chinese prisoners of war as laborers, who were forced to enter it blindfolded to keep the project secret. Those assigned to areas of the complex deemed top secret, such as the medical laboratories located near the prisoner barracks, were executed. Those held at Zhongma included common criminals, members of the anti-Japanese resistance, political dissidents, and anyone deemed a subversive element by the Kempeitai. In total, the facilities at Zhongma can house up to 1,000 prisoners at a time. Zhongma hosted various medical experiments on humans. In order that the different experiments could be carried out on as healthy individuals as possible, the prisoners were well fed with rice, wheat, meat, fish, and alcoholic beverages before participating in them. Many of these prisoners were bled for days while being deprived of food and water to control their physical and mental deterioration. Others were inoculated with microbes and bacteria to study the development of infections and then perform live slaughters. The average life expectancy of a prisoner did not exceed 1 month, and the few who managed to survive were used in other medical experiments. There was an escape attempt involving several prisoners in August 1934, coinciding with the celebration of a traditional summer festival, during which the prisoners were given extra food. One of them, named Li, despite his poor health, managed to overpower one of the guards and steal his keys, which he used to free 40 of his friends. 10 of them were killed by Japanese soldiers, while many were arrested again and sentenced to harsh punishment. The few who managed to escape devoted all their efforts to reporting the abuses taking place at Zhongma. To quell increasingly persistent rumors about their activities, in 1936, Japanese occupation forces in Manchuria decided to move facilities to Pingfan, 24 kilometers south of Harbin. From then on, the project was named Unit 731, which had more resources for biomedical research, including humans. As a result of the proclamation of the Imperial Order, 2 investigative units were created in 1936. One of them was the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Unit led by Ishii. This special section of the Imperial Army was established in new facilities established in Pingfan. In June 1938, the facilities covered an area of 32 km² and employed 3,000 Japanese scientists and technicians. As of 1941, it was known as Unit 731. The other was called the Veterinary Disease Prevention Division, under the command of Yujiro Wakamatsu. This unit operated in the town of Mengkyatun, later to be known as Unit 100, and developed experiments very similar to those of Unit 731. On August 13, 1937, despite the indifference of Western powers, the Imperial Japanese Army used biochemical weapons against the Chinese Army for the first time, and continued to do so at least 5 more times. On October 4, 1940, the Japanese Air Force dropped several bacteriological bombs on Chusien, killing 21 people. On October 29 of the same year, an air raid was carried out on Ningpo, killing 99 people. On 28 November 1940, the Allies became aware of these actions by the Imperial Army, which bombarded Chinchua the same day. In January 1941, Japanese air forces attacked the towns of Suiyan and Shaanxi with biochemical weapons, causing painful skin rashes on the townspeople. Although the U.S. government was aware of these actions by the Japanese, it did not show interest, considering that the use of these biological weapons did not pose a serious threat to the United States. Various reports from U.S. military intelligence downplayed Japanese successes in biochemical warfare, because racial theories of the time held that Asians would not be able to develop cutting-edge technology without Western advice and assistance. An article titled, "Japanese Bacteriological Warfare Tests Against Chinese Nationals," published in the Rocky Mountain Medical Journal in August 1942, revealed how wrong U.S. authorities were about Japanese biotechnology. Interrogations of various Japanese POWs captured by the Americans in the South Pacific, including several members of the Imperial Army's Medical Corps specializing in biochemical warfare, made some of their experiments known. Ishii's name and mention of Unit 731 came up during several interrogations. Although U.S. officials were not concerned about the possibility of biochemical attack on their own territory, the Japanese had managed to develop an ingenious way of spreading terror in the U.S. by launching hot air balloons from submarines near the coast of North America. The American government found this absurd and did not take any precautions to prevent a possible biochemical attack on the American people. Among the various experiments conducted by Unit 731, vivisections and killings of prisoners to document the moments immediately after their deaths. According to studies by U.S. forces, 400 to 600 people were used annually. Frequent use of biochemical weapons against Chinese troops and civilians, deliberate spread of diseases such as cholera, typhus, diphtheria, and dysentery, freezing of living people, severe deprivation of water and food to verify its effects on the human body. Injuries and physical damage resulting from explosives are addressed to the administration of effective treatments that will then lead to the successful treatment of Japanese troops and citizens. Attacks on civilians using biochemical agents, such as flea bombs contaminated with various diseases, and the distribution of contaminated candies to Chinese children, intentional contamination of water and food, testing of various chemical agents in humans, fatal X-ray exposure, electric shock, injection of air or horse urine into prisoners' kidneys to examine for embolisms, sexual abuses. According to estimates by various scientists, the number of deaths in the experiments may have reached 20,000. Following the surrender of Japan on September 2, 1945, United States Army Lieutenant Colonel Murray Sanders traveled to Tokyo from Fort Detrick, the current U.S. Army Biological Experiment Center, to locate Ishii and gather information on Unit 731. Sanders managed to interrogate some members of the Imperial Army who were somehow connected to Unit 731. Yoshijiro Umezu, Chief of Staff of the Kwantung Army, Colonel Tomosa Sakuda, Kwantung Army Commander, and Japanese Parliament aide, Junichi Kaneko, medical researcher. Unfortunately, after the war, it was impossible to find any trace of Ishii and his whereabouts.